Sure, there is some of that, Julie, and good morning. What I think is that looking at it from a 10,000-foot level, what you see from the administration generally is they like to, they like to stake a fairly clear but rather extreme position, and then they work back from there. And I think what you're seeing a lot of here is kind of fine tuning as it goes forward. The other thing I would say to markets is that it is a matter of, for Trump economically, it is a matter of creating economic interdependence as part of a kind of the geopolitical alliance. It does not do to silo, as some suggest, geopolitics and the markets from one another. When you have a Treasury Secretary who says, as Scott Bessent does, that economic security is national security and vice versa, you have to look at all this through a geopolitical lens. So what they're trying to do here through tariff deals, and I would consider the U.S.-India deal to probably be the next one of these that happens in the next few weeks. What you're seeing is trying to create a web of economic interdependence that supports geopolitical alliances that kind of ring fences China, which for its part generally does a go it alone sort of strategy.
John, is that how you view all of this? It's also interesting to get these headlines, the backdrop for which is still some Fed officials, Jeff Schmid being the latest today, still saying that inflation fight is not done yet.
Yeah, and this all fits together, and I'll take the economic angle. Clearly, geopolitics plays into this, but I think there's a few things going on here. First of all, for the last 25 or 30 years, global companies, multinational companies, could count on an environment of low and stable tariff policies as they built out global supply chains. And this was a period that I call a period of trade opening. We are now in a period of, let's call it, trade reconfiguration, trade closing. Let's come up with a better name. But what it means is that tariff policies are unstable. They're generally going higher. We don't know where they're going to land, but they're unstable. So this certainty that multinational companies had as they built out global supply chains is now going away. I think the economic consequences of that is that, as part of the period of trade opening, we had a long episode of global goods price deflation. Just walk down a Walmart aisle, you saw all this cheap stuff. We're now reconfiguring that too, which is causing somewhat upward pressure on inflation, the cost of living, affordability, whatever you want to call it. And I think the Trump administration is seeing the pressure of that on American households. We saw it in the last election, and they're responding to that on a case-by-case basis. Try to bring your coffee price down. Try to bring your banana price down. And the Fed is also responding to that because what we've got is a job market that's slowing down too, but they're starting to feel the pressure of inflation being above the 2% target. And there's a real fight brewing in the Fed about how much lower to cut interest rates. So this move out of the period of trade opening into trade closing is causing all this friction that, frankly, I don't think the market has fully digested at this point. They've been so heavily invested in the AI trade that I don't think all of these economic frictions are really playing into their valuations.
Well, to that point, guys, I want to play for you something that Ann Walsh told me yesterday of Guggenheim. I spoke to her at Yahoo Finance Invest, and we talked about this sort of DC headline risk. This is what she said.
I think this fiscal policy and political disruption is really one for the playbooks for the rest of the Trump administration. And the volatility ride, I think, will continue from that perspective.
This sort of feeling of not being able to sort of get the ground beneath you, and Ann's suggestion that this is what we're doing for the next few years, Terry. From a market's perspective, how do people sort of internalize that and deal with that?
Well, I think you start by understanding that increased volatility compared to zero or near zero, as it was before, is going to continue. Firstly, secondly, that there are the bounds, and I do think it's you can look through the administration's policy and understand, generally speaking, what the end game is, which is more stability in tariffs, more economic interdependence among these countries, and all the rest going forward. But the old world where where you could take the economics and silo them off from what Ms. Walsh calls headline risk in Washington is gone. And it's gone because of it's not gone because of Trump. It's gone because Trump has chosen to put together a different way of responding to the geopolitics that exists. And they're doing that. It will take some time. I'm not here as an administration apologist by any means, but what they anticipate is that between the economic impacts, the positive economic impacts of the tax bill from last July, combined with a more rationalized tariff policy, among other things, that they will have created a situation together that starts attacking inflation and affordability issues.
John, you've been watching those inflation and affordability issues really closely. You've been watching the haircut prices, I know, very closely. Do you think that what's happening right now is going to be successful at getting some of these prices down, or at least making them rise less quickly?
I think we've got a real challenge on our hand getting inflation down to the Fed's 2% target. And I think that's going to be an economic theme and a political theme for the next year, which we just saw in this kind of off-cycle election in November. And I want to bring another point to that, which is your earlier guest talked about fiscal policy. I think there's also a fiscal policy story here. So the Trump administration is now talking about measures like a tariff dividend for households. They're talking about making direct payments to households to cover their health care costs. And I think as we go into the midterm elections, this becomes part of the debate of kind of recycling these ideas of just sending money to households to adjust to the high costs of living. Now, this is a double-edged sword. A lot of American households need the money because of this K-shaped economy that we've got, but we've got a deficit that's running at almost $2 trillion, 6% of GDP. And for now, the bond market is financing that at a relatively low interest rate. But I think the risk, if they pursue these policies of sending special payments to households, is that we put upward pressure on long-term interest rates. My broader point here is that there's no free lunch. There are easy solutions. Economics is about making choices and hard choices. And we're staring at a lot of hard choices right now.